Much love from all of us in Crowan here at the... all of us here at the Western Clash.
All of you that have a heart.
He's a robot. The Tin Man.
Wow.
Won't be taken away from Europe. Not even to send out a heart.
Oh.
He has a heart after all. I'm so proud.
I'm just faking.
All right.
Crocodile tears.
Well, love is one thing that Heroes Hearth needs, but they're gonna need a whole lot more now. Team Fnatic has been on a tear versus Heroes Hearth in this series. It's an elimination series, and it being 2 games down now, Heroes Hearth must mount a near impossible comeback. Right? We look at a reverse sweep. It's very difficult, Michael Udall, to have 3 games in a row won in a best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is how mentally draining it is, right? You after each loss, right, basically every team communication is go, okay, guys, we got this. We just need to, go back to playing our style. Most teams have the same thing. It's basically, let's go back to playing our style. Let's just relax. Let's do our thing. I mean, but it's really hard to do that after 2 losses, realizing, okay, we're going to have to do our thing, do our style, and play really well for the next 3 games in a row. So it takes a lot of mental fortitude and a lot of mental strength. And we have mentioned that Heroes Hearth, for some of these players, this is their first time playing on stage. So nerves are definitely going to be a huge factor.
Yeah, and people have been playing all day here. Heroes Hearth, it's their first series, but Fnatic have been able to keep that momentum going for them after their win earlier, or their loss earlier today. They were able to recharge and make sure that they didn't fall out here, at least not yet. Fnatic feeling very good as we head into Infernal Shrines for Game 3. Thoughts on Shrines here?
I think for Fnatic, it's a good map. They have a 4-2 track record currently on the map here, and I think at this point they are just having so much momentum that any map would really do, because as we said before, I felt going into this, Heroes Hearth needed to come out with a win, and that didn't happen. Fnatic instead got 2 wins, and they were very decisive ones, so I feel it's going to be nearly impossible for Heroes Hearth to turn that around. They need a spectacular draft to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, as far as draft goes, all Fnatic has shown is that they're really good at running that blow-up style, right? And going into this draft, I feel like Heroes Hearth is going to need... I mean, what do you do? Ban ETC? Then they still can pick up Diablo. This is one of Diablo's best maps, right? And Breeze has shown how proficient he is on that hero. So maybe the Leeming is the answer, but I mean, then again, there are so many mages that many is strong on. So I feel like either picking or banning that Malfurion, I think, is a really good option for the side of Heroes Hearth.
Yeah, and I mean, just adding on to that, as you were saying, Fnatic, this map choice, I feel like they've just, well, they have been pretty much running the same draft, just different tweaks. And then once again, they're like, well, this is working pretty well for us. Heroes Hearth don't really seem to have too much of a response, nothing we can't really deal with. Let's pick another map that we can run a very similar composition.
Going for potentially a Baron Greymane here, I don't really believe that is the answer, but I want to wait a little bit longer, because one thing that surprised me as well in the previous drafts is that Heroes Hearth was very willing, especially in the second draft, to simply give Malfurion away. And that surprised me quite a bit. Also, I don't really think that material high priority is something that is needed here. I want to see what the first pick for Heroes Hearth now is, how they adapt to it, and how often... Okay, there we go. Malfurion taken. I like that a lot more than what we've seen so far from that.
I agree. I mean, it does take away a lot of that kill pressure. I mean, the follow-up CC from the support is instrumental to that composition that Fnatic was running. But, I mean, that's the thing, is Fnatic has only shown one style. Like, this is a team that we know is really strong at a bunch of other heroes. We watched their set versus Tempo Storm. Genji was huge in that series, and Genji is up right now. So I think we could see something like a Blaze Genji coming out for the side of Fnatic. For Western Clash going, those are 2 very S-tier heroes, and there is the Genji for the side of Fnatic. I would be very surprised if it's not a Tyrael or a Blaze here.
I just really want to... Ooh.
ETC is strong too. I mean, they've been kicking butt with that hero, so who am I?
I feel what they're really doing with the ETC is, once again, what we've seen for a long, long time. When the ETC got changes, all of a sudden everybody played ETC in the early rotation in Europe, because it was just that very flexible pick where you could run him as the main tank, as the off tank, depending on what your opponent picks. You see a Dehaka, you play him on the off lane, you go for stage dive, and you're fine. There's no Dehaka available, you can take an off laner, you can go into Mosh Pit, so you can adapt really well. So that leaves Fnatic super flexible, and they have 2 great ETC players. So again, it's just them they're not showing anything here.
Well, on the side of Heroes Hearth as well, that Gul'dan that Crowan likes to play, it works very, very well on this map. Paired with that Malfurion, I feel like it can create a lot more space. They're finally now assembling CC. And I mean, this is playing to heroes that they are comfortable on. I feel like in this last game, you either go one of 2 routes, right? You go down the cheesy route, try something a little bit different, something that might try and catch Fnatic off guard, or you rely on that comfort.
Yeah, and one thing I want to know, okay, so they do go for the Zeratul Diablo. I feel like we are going to see a full Wombo combo coming out for the side of HeroesHearth, using that Void Prism to set up into that APOC, into that Root, into that Silence for the side, you know, of HeroesHearth. But one thing I want to know, Fnatic has the option to pick up Uther or Abathur. HeroesHearth can only ban out one, which thus means Fnatic will be able to get to one of the others, which means maybe a D-shielded Dragonblade or 2 Genjis, which is a very scary situation for the side of HeroesHearth.
It definitely is, but I like what HeroesHearth did. They realized that Fnatic in the previous series over and over on the second ban banned out Zeratul to eliminate that X-Fuck that we've been talking about. And now they just say, okay, we have to pick it early. It's the only way that we can actually get access to it, and they pick Diablo with it too. So we have a lot of, as you said, Wombo combo potentially here for them. And that's something that they simply have to use, and Fnatic will have to respect that. They also ban out Gul'dan for the reasons you already mentioned, and also because it extremely well works with what they already have here too. It just points a target on everybody that is locked in with an Apocalypse, for example, and then you get all the damage out of Gul'dan. So I like this a lot more from HeroesHearth, what they're doing here.
What I would like to mention, though, is that those are 3 very long heroic abilities and as far as cooldown timers. Though HeroesHearth in the past has shown great synergy, some of the best synergy that we have in North America because of their long-standing roster, it's also late in the evening. When the pressure's on, they have to win this game. They have to win every game of this series to start the comeback in this series. So there's going to be a ton of pressure on them, and they're picking a draft that is high on the execution factor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's such a good point. This is the last series of the day, right? This is where your mental pressure is at the maximum, right? This is your elimination match for the tournament. You know, and you're running a comp where you have to hit all of those R buttons in succession or you are going to lose.
But it is a draft that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very logical.
It's something where I look at it and say, like, okay, there's a clear idea of what you're trying to do. And also the bans really work well with the draft. You ban out Tyrael because you know that the Sanctification can ruin the entire combo. So I feel like they have a good idea of what they want to do, and now it comes down to the execution, but they at least have the tools available to them now.
And I like that they're actually forcing Fnatic to change up their draft, because for 2 games we've seen Fnatic have a very, very similar draft, and this is their way. Yes, that Zeratul finally has come through, the Diablo taken away, as well as the Malfurion. They've shown that they can play these heroes as well, but it's a step in the right direction. I really do agree with how you keep phrasing that, Caldo.
I mean, I'm really curious if Fnatic just goes something like Uther and Li Ming, so they don't change up their composition that much. I mean, you have a Genji instead of a Greymane, you have an Uther instead of a Malf. I mean, it's basically the same concept, right? Where it's used just CC into CC. Okay, so they end up going for the Li Ming Leoric, still leaving that Uther as an option, but Leoric a very strong double soaker, as well as, you know, he has that late game power spike, that 13, 16, 20. Just really explodes as a hero if the enemy opponent doesn't have good tank shredder, something like a Tychus, which, I mean, Wombo combo isn't necessarily the best into Leoric. He's able to get that E off before, you know, the APOC will be able to hit him.
And, I mean, on top of that, we now have exactly the situation we've been talking about earlier. ETC can now go into the main tank role, so very likely we have Breeze on the hero. The double resets that we're having now, very adaptive to what they are doing here. For me, it's a question of what HeroesHearth is now doing in the last few picks. They already have Zeratul, they have Diablo, they want to have some range damage in this as well. I mean, you could go even more all in and draft the mage. We've seen a lot of Jaina in North America in particular. She popped up a couple of times in the tournament here as well. Not as much as I would have expected, giving the North American affinity for her. But they need some burst damage with this.
They do, but as well, with that Gul'dan being taken away, it's really choking out Krone's hero pool once again. They are resorting to the Malthael. It's a hero that he feels quite comfortable on. Well, that the team has played as well in the past. So that Jaina, though, I'm looking at it. Thoughts on that?
I mean, as I just said, I feel it's exactly what they need. They have the burst damage now. They can go into the European style with the Ring of Frost, which I personally believe is fantastic with the setup that they have.
Agreed.
I mean, it's North America. They might still lean towards the water elemental, which is more prevalent in the region.
Yeah,
but I still think with
cone.
this, it's Ring, Blizzard, burst damage, cone, and just burst that target away as fast as you can.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this game is going to rely on McIntyre on that Zeratul.
It is.
He needs to get those big VPs, because that is HeroesHearth's only win condition, right? Their comp is very linear, and if they're able to get those big Void Prisms and the Ring APOC follow-up, they are absolutely going to demolish.
Now, what do you think is the reason that they waited so long for the last pick? Were they maybe afraid that they will be faced with the damage dealer that Uther is going to struggle against, even a Lunara pick? It doesn't quite synergize with everything else that they had at this point, but I feel that Fnatic was a bit afraid. If we pick Uther early and pick Leoric then later on, then they might adapt to Uther and try and exploit his weaknesses.
Yeah, so you mean in like the 3, so instead of picking Uther in the 3-4, they picked it as 5th pick?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because before that, Uther just, I mean, the draft screamed Uther. You have Genji, you have ETC, so I would have said, okay, that has to be an Uther. But with them leaving it for the last pick, they were flexible enough to adapt in case that there is any kind of Lunara damage, for example, that Uther would struggle into.
Yeah, well, and basically what that says to me is that they feel like, you know, because Leo has counters as well, and they were more afraid of the Uther getting countered than the Leo getting countered.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, ended up working out, because I think what in their mind they were saying, okay, they're not going to pick that Tychus, because Tychus doesn't really go that well with their composition, so we can hide that Uther in case they do go some kind of, you know, situation where, you know, maybe Alex could have been really good. It is strong on this map, and granted, I don't think it's as good as the Uther, that's why they didn't pick it, but, you know, if they pick some random damage, it could have been an ideal pick.
Right.
It gave them flexibility in the draft.
Yeah, there's some flexibility there, and they kept along with that. They ended up getting Uther in the end, though, and now, is it enough to deal with the Wombo combo? Do you feel the Wombo is enough? Is Zeratul for McIntyre enough, Mike, to start this turnaround?
I do not think so. I think Fnatic is going to win this. I mean, if it's the last series of the day, and I really feel like that is going to catch up with the players of Heroes Hearth. Their comp is such, it's a high level of execution, and there's no forgiveness. If you miss your R buttons, you lose the game. So, you know, I think they're going to have trouble lining all this up.
I mean, I'm just looking as well. I love that video about Heroes Hearth, and I mean, I really want to support them, but I believe Fnatic will have the better execution in this game.
If it was the first game with this draft, I would have more faith in them, but with the momentum that Fnatic has, even though I like the draft that they have way more than anything they played throughout the series so far, I still say that the momentum of Fnatic at this point can't be beaten.
Much love, Heroes Hearth. Bring it home. Let's go. Bring it home. I'm ready. But I think I'm probably outnumbered by chat quite a lot, as well as everyone else here at the desk. Let's see. Yeah, that's okay. I'm going, it's a full-on voting with my heart. Let's see how they can do.
They have a much better
Over to you
draft
guys.
this time. You could be right.
They do.
Dreadnought, Fnatic said 1 reset's not enough. They're going 2. You think they're going to get them?
Yeah, probably. I think it's pretty realistic for that to be the expectation here in this game. But we'll find out as we are kicking it off here for what could be the final game here of today at the Western Clash. In blue, Fnatic up 2 games. Sonic on Genji, Breeze on ETC, Mene on the Li Ming. We ended up having Smex on Uther and Bad Benny on Leoric.
On the right side, trying to keep their tournament hopes alive will be Heroes Hearth. North America's hope here is BBJ, who's going to be on Malfurion. McIntyre going to be trying to make those plays on Zeratul. Ishbu on Diablo, trying to show Breeze that he can too. Arthalon on Mouthdale, and Crowan on Jaina.
North America bringing out the Zeratul once more with a very old school Wombo combo composition. That being said, you know, Wombo combos generally rely on one major thing, the preparation, the setup, right? I mean, we have to keep in mind, at least from my perspective, to see 3 heroics that are going to most likely, even 4, commit to this kind of maybe even 5 now that I look at the Mouthdale, commit to that Wombo combo after the Void. It puts a lot of pressure on McIntyre. You know, even more so considering that, you know, back in the day whenever Zeratul had better stealth, you know, opportunities and more difficulty being seen, it was still pretty easy to stop.
Yeah, and I think the big part of that is going to be Uther in this case. And, you know, we had some discussion, you and I did, coming into this on Guardian of the Ancient Kings. When it comes to getting that much CC on multiple people, we'll talk about that as we do approach it. But, you know, you talk about the Wombo combo, Dread, and I think the thing that stands out for me is that Fnatic, they had a Wombo combo of their own. The only problem is that was from literally minute 1, because their Wombo combos literally abilities that are on short cooldowns, not the heroic style. So I feel like if Heroes Hearth wants to try and replicate something, the Wombo combo is nice, but executing it is difficult, and it's only going to happen a handful of times. I feel they're going to have to do a lot more in the early game to get value out of this.
I agree with you, and it's going to be unique positioning there. Breeze actually getting the invade to kind of check that out. It's going to be interesting what happens over the first Shrine phase, or even the first 2 for that matter, depending on how successful these teams are going to be in experience, because that 10 is not going to be there for Heroes Hearth, and the default kit for Fnatic is so strong, and it's being shown right here. They just see the crowd control. You said it before, not needing to wait for their heroics to get the Wombo combo, and it sets up a reset there for Sonic on Genji.
But Dread, my problem with this lies in one one thing.
Okay.
One thing and one thing only is the fact that Ishbu showed bottom, Leoric instantly rotates. And the reason being is that you have 3 squishy targets in the middle. Jaina literally was going out for a globe. That's a questing talent at level 1. Literally went out for a globe, got the slow there from Bad Benny. They recognize that. The minute Diablo shows at the bottom, you know, one of the players that you and I both like and respect is Wubby, and the way that he shows doesn't show. Diablo could easily just hide in a bush near the bottom and not show where he's at, but the minute he shows on the minion wave, it now has exposed the team of HeroesHearth knowing they don't have that protection.
Breeze is actually going to get more offensive with that power slide rather than going back through the route placed by BBJ. Nice slow there coming up from Crowan on the Jaina. I feel like that's one of those moments where, oh wow, the flip, the stun onto Leoric. Bad Benny gets the heal, but it's not enough to keep him alive. We see HeroesHearth finding themselves blood. 19 seconds out from the first Punisher phase. McIntyre goes in there to be able to get the damage.
Dude,
wow.
I thought, is he willing to commit for this? He ended up dying at the end of that. He committed for it. He got that Vorpal in. I'm like, dude, he's diving. If he is, he's probably going to trade. He ends up trading, but definitely much more favorable, I think, than we anticipated. There's some value out of this composition.
Very well done there. That was way more than we expected there because we were just considering the, you know, the default kit from Fnatic with the double reset, and that would be problematic. And I was more concerned with what happens over the first Shrine phase because those heroics, you know, not going to be there. Do you play 2 passes? Do you have to give them up? Do you allow and risk that double reset explosion out of Fnatic? But by getting those kills, it gives 13 skeletal defender advantage, and that is enough for me to suddenly go, they might have an opportunity to be able to deal with this because that is very, very forgiving, finding, you know, 25% of the skeletal defenders necessary pretty much for free.
They've got it, right? But I look at them like they don't have a tremendous amount of clear. Jaina more on the burst side, but then I look over at Fnatic, they don't necessarily have, you know, superior clear either. Leoric's going to be in there doing a little bit. McIntyre's trying to zone out at the bottom, but I think it's going to be much closer, you know, than meets the eye.
But I think the biggest problem here is Malthael has been side-soaking, though. Yes, he does have on the Pale Horse, but it seems too little too late in this transition. Leo's already going to start things out, and Fnatic has already got 20 of the skeletal defenders over. You know, they have the advantage here over HeroesHearth. Arthlon's looking to join in. Not able to get too much damage there. Ishbu shadow charges, gets the flip. BBJ with a nice follow-up route. Jaina gets a little bit of damage, but it's not going to be enough. Genji goes in. Breeze falling very, very low, but Malthael's going to get caught out. Breeze keeps himself alive thanks to the armor, not only from himself, but also Smexy. And this should be the first Punisher over to Fnatic.
I cannot help but be impressed. You know, there's going to be the story at the end of this no matter what. Win or lose for Fnatic, the story of Sonic, LeBeast coming in. Everybody kind of knows he's a last-minute replacement for Quacknix, but the fact that his positioning on that, he knew and understood where he needed to be positioned. ETC slides, he instantly is dashing directly through, getting that swift strike through, not hitting 1, but 2 members of HeroesHearth to really kind of set that up. The timing to just step right into a competitive scene, understand the timings of your abilities, that just shows great individual play, but also good team recognition.
Yeah, it's insane what Fnatic's been able to do with this temporary roster here.
I was going to say, that jump's about to happen.
Yeah, 15 seconds for it to come back, but the cleanse is going to be a little late there. Ishbu gets the Shadow Charge, trying to survive. Sonic goes in, ends up confirming reset 1. McIntyre teleports away. BBJ eats a full orb. Sonic trying to get the reset. He finds it. Not going to commit to the risky swift strike over the wall into BBJ. You know, I get hypey when I see Genjis. I'm just like, anything on the wall, I don't care. I want to see you go for it there. But, you know, Sonic, he's going to keep it controlled. And that's another thing to kind of bring up here is how few times you actually see Sonic overextend or get over-aggressive. I got to say, that's got to be one of the first things we see when amateur scene going to the professional, right, is how often you fail to respect what your opponent can make happen. And Sonic, you know, I mean, he does have a couple of good teammates to help remind him what might be going on, but it's still insanely impressive. Arth gets caught out on bottom, uses teleport. I don't think he's going to be able to make it past the wall. Nice use of the heal, and actually Sonic pulling away that last auto attack to throw out the Shuriken, and that keeps Arth alive.
Keeps him alive, and I think that right there is a little bit of a blessing for HeroesHearth. It seems to be they're struggling a little bit. That Diablo pick, that fort was pretty much gone. I feel like that should have happened. Despite having that cleanse there, there's just way too much CC follow-up beyond that. I think HeroesHearth, level 10 is going to be big for them to try and get that Wombo that you and I discussed, because they haven't had a lot of opportunities beforehand to do much more with it. But I think that they're going to have those opportunities at the next Shrine phase.
We did see Fnatic end up avoiding going into the Guardian of Ancient King, still sticking to Hand of Protection. I feel like this is one of the cases where it does make a lot more sense as well, just because we have the opportunity. I mean, you have an ETC, right? If you don't have to commit the Mosh Pit, or excuse me, Divine Shield to allow him to get that channel, man, that's a bit scary. As long as you don't have to commit that major resource to allow him to get that, it is really nice to just, you know, drop the cleanse, and then suddenly you have Divine Shield available for Genji to prep the resets. and Li Ming to really kind of open things up. Full level lead for Fnatic, and having the Leo and just compositional advantage. I feel like this is going to start hitting the moment where we watch Fnatic abuse the fact that they have that Leoric onto the map. They already have an experience and structural advantage, and HeroesHearth, they've got the Wombos, which means they're going to be death ball. They are going to be clumped. They're going to be looking to be grouped, which means they're going to struggle in the macro area. And that's where I expect Fnatic to just kind of abuse this weakness and pull in this style of play from HeroesHearth.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to say that, hey, last game they had 25 kills, but they controlled the macro game. And they did. I mean, it's kind of like they hit that 15, 16, 17, and they're like, look, there's not much we need to do. They're willing to give up their boss. They're willing to play around the macro game despite being as dominant as we know that they can be. So that is something to definitely consider now that the Leoric is just kind of chilling, just doing what he needs to do. It's forcing the rotation out. Malthael went up to respond to that lane. Experience somewhat here, but when we look at 13 quickly approaching, it's definitely in favor of Fnatic. We'll see if HeroesHearth will try and pull the trigger here early. Last rights value. He's going to try and get the reset.
Nice heal up there from the W. I think for a moment he was close to being in range, but by having the Drain Hope, is able to keep him alive long enough to fall out of that. It's a really cool kind of matchup there. The fact that the Drain Hope can like out heal, and it's just question, can I steal enough life from you so you can't steal the life from me?
It's a close one. Either way, this is HeroesHearth's moment to try and take this fight. As you said, a lot of it falls onto McIntyre to set up that big VP, but if Ishbu finds an opportunity to get that slam into a wall, he might try and open it up himself.
Big Bad Benny gonna go ahead and use that Entomb. Ishbu and friends yet to pull the trigger. They have the Shaman Camp pressing up on top, so when I was talking about the macro and the death ball, that's the kind of stuff that's really going to hurt a composition like HeroesHearth. It puts a timer on how they have to initiate. They're gonna start opening up on Leo. Benny, Wraith walks out, not gonna get the kill. Blizzard used there by Crowan. That's a major cooldown and a large source of their damage. They're gonna be able to wait that out, and that's when they are gonna open up once more.
It's gonna open it up. And you talk about that timer, they have to get this Punisher or they have to back out, because that will threaten a keep. And that is the scariest thing if you are HeroesHearth, is that if you lose here, you lose a lot. And that is the scariest thing. Benny being threatened, but we see the Twilight Dream on the backside has silenced Genji, who now has the D shield. He's gonna go in, gets a trade onto Crowan. McIntyre gets that alive. That VP is just gonna be there.
APOC is going to drop, and it's actually just as the Divine Shield drops, so the stun ends up landing on the Sonic. Mosh Pit used, it's gonna land onto just one. Sonic, if he's able to get the reset, might be able to explode onto McIntyre there, but he can't see him quite yet, waiting into the wakes. A lot of punishment onto
Benny's back.
The body block's there. Benny comes back to life.
Benny comes back to life. Souls are going to be there. Arthlon trapped here for the moment, but Arthlon, he has no mana.
Keep in mind that if Fnatic does just keep them busy this entire time, they've had that Shaman Camp pushing up towards the top lane. They back out, lock in this Punisher now, take the keep front wall, and and now that's going to suddenly make the top such an easy win condition there for the initiation opportunity by having that front wall dropped in a double reset composition. I mean, that's a dream for top lane Punishers.
It is, and I think that right there at first glance is a little bit scary. But the fact that we have a 50-50 chance that it could be top or middle. Arthlon is war. This is Arthlon, man.
I'm going to be honest, I love the fact that Breeze is dishing it back, with B-steps here.
Wouldn't you if you're up 2-0?
Yeah, I just, B-steps are for everybody, winning and losing, it doesn't matter. It's just a good time. But the fact that, we oftentimes see that the one team's willing to distribute it here, and it's not so well met at the other side. So I'm glad that you, brethren, can show a little bit of the banter as well.
Dishing it out there. Now we've got Fnatic fully up in this game. They're stealing camps. They're taking all the structures. They're taking walls. We see a little bit of a gank attempt onto Leoric, but you have to really flank far. We see the root come down, so the Wraith Walk, they should be able to get this kill, but on a Leoric.
The real question is at what cost?
You get a quest stack?
Yeah, we end up getting quest stack, but in mid lane, there's a lot of pressure.
Give up a fort.
Which is going to lock in the 16 talents here. Leo's got a death timer that's shorted in 30 seconds, not even considering the 10 seconds, 15 seconds he gains at his spawn point. So realistically, this just furthered the advancement towards 16, I feel like here. Death timers are not going to be long enough. Nice stun onto McIntyre. No kill yet to be gained for Fnatic, but I feel like it's one of those moments. Oh, wait, that's a Vorpal APOC.
Vorpal APOC, they get the stun, they get the Blizzard, they get the ring! That's the combo they're looking for as two members instantly go down by Fnatic. Dread, it seemed like McIntyre might have been baited into that, but it's like, oh, you bait me? No, I bait you, and that is big time play right there.
I am the one who baits, is what he's saying here. I didn't mean that to come off as fast as it did. But HeroesHearth.
HeroesHearth. gets back in the game. They get a few kills. They got the pick onto Leo. They thought, hey, you know, Fnatic's going to turn this around, and HeroesHearth finds themselves back experience, gets themselves in. I mean, they pinged that before that happened, and then McIntyre setting all that up, zoning out Genji, that was great.
It was actually an amazing play because it's one of those, when we watched the last initiation attempt, they failed to be able to use even all of their heroics in a wombo combo, you know, kind of manner. Arth, gonna get caught out. He actually keeps himself alive.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Over the wall. He's not gonna use the Wave of Force. I thought for sure Manny was questioning if he could get that reset.
Did he get the health off of 16, or did he just happen to have that sliver?
I'm pretty sure he just happened to have that sliver. I don't know, it was a bit close.
It was close. I'm sitting there, I'm like, does he have a Q available? And then he just kind of casually walks by with about 5 health. Back. No big deal.
What I was going to say was that it's impressive that we saw HeroesHearth actually get this kind of combo, not only because they struggled, but in the past when the Jaina Zeratul used to be Team Dignitas go-to on Infernal Shrines, Fnatic did a pretty good job of being able to avoid and dismantle it and really show the weaknesses of trying to search and seek for that void. But, you know, McIntyre creative use there of the Vorpal, making what originally started as a questionable trade. As long as you get the auto attack under the target, they walk anywhere near the remainder of the team, it's very easy to get the setup.
We're going to see if they can do it again as this next Punisher Dread after that Shaman camp annihilated that top lane. There is no keep wall, which generally when you fall back, if you lose a Punisher, it's generally because you lost a team fight. And if that pushes, that's a keep going down in a potential, as you said, win condition. You can see McIntyre flanking on the backside with the wall there. I would hesitate to initiate.
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Is one thing that happens with Void Prison is even though normally when you look at fights, you don't want to fight next to the fort, you're like, I have Void, I can force it. But it doesn't change the fact that if you do not stop shop on that and get that kill immediately, it is very easy to retreat, get the tap, and suddenly, I mean, like normal games, that's a pretty bad circumstance, but it's even worse in the fact that you're down 3 heroics. Benny hits the Wraith Walk before the Shadow Charge comes through. 10 skilled to defenders for them, but HeroesHearth is looking to focus on that themselves. McIntyre cut out.
He's caught out, but he blinks out just in time. Arthlon actually put some pressure on that backside. Ishbu going in. They get it into the root, into the Ring of Frost, but the charge back with the overpower reset. It's forced out that D-Shield. Sonic has been silenced by the Twilight Dream.
Mosh Pit goes down and ends up hitting 2, and it's enough to keep Sonic alive by that time. Arthlon's going to keep himself alive for a half of a second, but reset after reset here for the double reset composition. And we go from 5 members on the side of HeroesHearth to 0 really, really quick here. Fnatic just magic trick. Poof, they're gone.
And poof, gone. The last rites did not confirm the kill. Protected, by the way. And now we're just going in. This is now Fnatic's opportunity to soften this up. Just make way for that Punisher and potentially try and close this series out.
This is one of the awkward moments where I don't know if it's going to be immediately easy for them to be able to end the game, even if they get the Punisher with this key prep, because Void wasn't used in that skirmish. So that is something they have to be considering with the defense onto the core. That a 15-minute Punisher isn't that gonna. What if they don't even wait it out here? 5 seconds difference. I don't know if it's going to be enough.
If they can prep this down, I mean, APOC can save the core, but do you need to use it to fight here?
No, you need to wait it out, and you need to wait till you get at least the Jaina. Ideally, you want to wait till all 15. You do not want to
get the full combo?
Yeah, you need to look for a full combo past the Punisher. 96% on the core.
I mean, with the shields down, the threat of diving in, because they need to go. Arthlon has the self-cleanse. He gets it over. He baits it to the middle. Can they get it there to hold? That's the name of the game. Once they get it to hold there, if it can hold on the structures, then they can take this fight.
Benny Wraith walks out. Ishbu pushes Breeze into the backline. 2-man Void on not necessarily optimal targets. APOC still goes. Ring of Frost is going to get the follow-up. A lot of damage there on the ETC, but he keeps the armor, keeps himself up. BBJ is in a terrible position, uses the Ice Block. Is he going to get the Dream off? No, he will not. That is the first kill now for Fnatic.
It's the first, and it might be part of the last as we see Arthlon trying to survive on that backside. He's trying to get some of that health whittled. Last rites once again negated. 2 members down. The Punisher, though, has fallen.
They bought time. They may have bought enough time.
Back into the root, though.
Again. Mac Smacks goes in. He doesn't have enough mana. Power slide in the follow-up, as always, here for Sonic. The damage from Ishbu. Breeze falling low, 63% and counting.
60%, 50 falling down here. That is 4 members down on the side of HeroesHearth. Fnatic, just like that, have come out and 3-0'd HeroesHearth. Sonic LaBeast, led by the charge of Breeze and team, are staying alive here in the lower brackets and moving on to play on our championship Sunday.
Very impressive performance here from Fnatic over North America. There's been so many mixed results, so many mixed drafts. I mean, the Western Clash, honestly, has been a bit wild in terms of, from an analysis perspective here. But I think at least from my point of view, that this is what I expected to see from Fnatic. I'm satisfied with their play here. I feel like it was, something that in looking towards tomorrow and tomorrow's games, I am very hopeful for them to maybe even, outperform what they expected out of themselves after what we saw today. I feel like they learned a lot of what they need to do here with Sonic in this new roster.
I actually sat next to Sonic on the ride home last night,
Yeah.
right back to the hotel. I'm trying to talk to this guy, and he's like, look, man, I'm tired. He's literally trying to nap on our 15-minute ride home. He said he got up at 5 a.m. yesterday, made the flight here, got here for the tournament, comes out, performs as well as he did last night. This is a dude on full rest. He came out, he's like, look, this is easy. I get to follow up this team. Imagine what he does. He's now got 2 days of experience under his belt, a little bit of sleep, and now things are looking good for Fnatic going into tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting, series that we have across the board tomorrow when things unfold. HeroesHearth is going to go home, but we have to keep in mind that they have had an outstanding, series here. Not only this performance in this one, but I mean, looking at the entirety of the tournament, I can't help but say I think North America was a pleasant surprise, but HeroesHearth Esports was even more so. Twofold of what we see from that out of North American scene.
HeroesHearth, they said that no matter the results, they look forward to building off of this and moving forward. So we'll see them down the road, I'm sure. But for now, Fnatic moves on. But let's pass it back over to Gillian team to hear what they have to say about the series.
Thank you, Jayhow and Dreadnought. With that win, Fnatic ensures 2 things. First of all, they continue on. They will carry on into the top 4 teams of the Western Clash. And secondly, it's the first time that we see Europe take a lead in the representation at the Western Clash as one lone survivor of today. And North America sits in the upper bracket, and that is Tempo Storm.
Yeah, and we're going to see the European versus European match coming up next, but Tempo Storm definitely holding the flag high for North America. And let's face it, HeroesHearth just now, with that draft they had, this was a lot of a closer game than the previous games that they played in the series, so well done by them.
Yeah, there were a couple of wombos that worked out. There one specifically I know that we saw work out for McIntyre, and it was nice to see that McIntyre got his Zeratul Vandy and that he showed why the team put faith into him.
McIntyre on that Zeratul, it just made a huge change. The ability to make those plays for his team, we've said again and again. It was just, I guess, that changing force that they needed. It wasn't enough, unfortunately. Genji just proving too strong in terms of that protector, just denying so many of those kills. Every time he got so low, big Twilight Dreams, there was just no one to finish him, to execute him, and that just sort of set them back. But immediately we saw it was so like a totally different game, right?
It is, and HeroesHearth, they came in, they had realistic expectations for themselves. They wanted to go back an improved team. And I think without a doubt, we know that they will do just that as they continue forward in part 2 of North America. But Michael Udall, show us what you got.
I mean, so I have a top 3 highlights. It's honestly just a Breeze highlight show. He played so well this series, and you're going to see that in every single one of these plays. So we're going to be starting off with, Cursed Hollow. This is the play I was mentioned before in the other replay. So this looks like a terrible situation for Fnatic. Look, Breeze is at 20% HP, and he turns around, gets that insta-kill onto the Rhaegar as well as Arthlon. And look at that, they just clean up the fight off of that one huge turn coming out by Breeze. And into this next play, it is going to be Towers of Doom. And this is an awesome play. Look at Breeze. So he slides in with the Anubrak onto the Gul'dan, the reset, the rewind, just blowing up both of those backline heroes, as well as the Cocoon onto the Dahaka, and the Death Mosh coming out there. And this is my favorite one of all. Watch Fnatic. Sonic putting in so much work on that Genji here, and watch him use this deflect to actually dodge that last ride coming out by Maltheo. And in the meantime, Breeze is hitting that 2-man Mosh, and Mene is just blowing everyone up, getting those resets. And this was really the team fight that won that game for Fnatic and won that series, securing them the match tomorrow.
Fnatic carries forward, and we can talk to one of the carries of the team, and that is Bad Benny. You all carry at different points in time, and for you, a lot of that comes down to your shot calling, Benny, because you've had to switch over to shot calling now with Quacknick's not being here, bringing in Sonic. How has that been? How have you been able to deal with that pressure?
It's actually no pressure at all on us this tournament. We have a sub, and there's a lot of things that happen kind of. For the shot calling, I was shot calling for expert before, so that's no problem for me. But the drafting, on the other hand, is very new. And that's something that might be hard tomorrow when I play my old teammate ADRD. Holy shit. It's falling down, okay? All right.
The surprise. He's like, good. Breeze, is that you coming at me?
Other questions Were you hungry? Did you want to eat a microphone?
No,
Okay, there you go.
I'm fine.
Caldor? Okay.
I mean, I
There
have
you
one.
go.
So I am so curious, and you don't have to get into too much of your individual strategy, but what is up with Tomb of the Spider Queen? I mean, we haven't seen that map once, and traditionally that's been a very, very, very strong map for Europe region as a whole. I mean, is it just terrible from second pick? Is that why we aren't seeing it?
So for my reason personally, it's because we haven't played a map a single time with Sonic yet, and it requires a lot of rotations to be on point, and it's hard for me to call for two people to do that stuff, like for the first time on stage. So for now, like from the research I did, I saw HeroesHearth play the map a bit, so I just felt like banning it, kind of. I didn't need to ban anything else.
Yeah, well, I mean, that makes sense from your personal perspective, but I'm curious from like Europe as a whole. I mean, like, what would you say about that?
I honestly don't know. I think it's just personal preference for the teams.
Okay. Thank you very much. Congrats on your win again, man. Seriously, so impressed with your shot calling today.
Thank you.
I mean, I want to kind of back straight to the series that you actually lost earlier against Tempo Storm. So there is, I talked with Zealots about pretty much the same thing. What happens if you face them again? Do you think that now you would be in a better position to win against them? Do you feel that this series against them has given, first of all, you more experience against them as a team, but also that now with another series under your belt with Sonic, that you have more synergy that you could use in that series? Because your drafting changed drastically from Tempo Storm now to what we just saw against HeroesHearth.
I think, the Temple Storm series taught me a lot about the drafting, like the way I wanted to prioritize things. Because the first two games, although they got kind of close, like the fact that we gave them Maeve and they made it work that well, like it won't happen again. And yeah, it's a lesson learned, and I think if we play them again, unless they have a lot of new tricks up their sleeve, we're gonna beat them.
Well, of course, you'd have to go through Zealots first in the next match. Bandy, do you have any final questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, there's a lot of prioritization of your team on that grey main, especially with Sonic playing that. Why is that? A lot of teams have been shying away from him, especially feeling that he's a lot weaker. Is that just
Grayman
preference?
is a lot weaker than he was before, but for now, it's Sonic is really good at it, and we feel like when we get these kind of comps we had now, and we believe that we are the better team and the better players, we will just outplay them. And Grayman is a good hero for that. Like, it compensates for Liming's lack of macro play a lot. So.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Thank you for joining us, Bad
Thank
Benny, and good luck to you versus Zealots tomorrow and onward.
Thank you.
One last look.